Turning overseas, authorities in the Philippines have confirmed a Canadian man has been executed by Islamist militants in the country's south. Robert Hill is the second Canadian to be killed by Abu Sayyaf rebels since April. The Philippines has launched military action against the group in the past, but despite the new president's promise to crack down on criminal groups, he may be no match for Abu Sayyaf. Ann Barker reports.
My name is Robert Hall. I'm here as well.
If reports from the Philippines are correct, these were the last known words of Canadian Robert Hall, who now appears to be the latest hostage executed by Islamist militants in the Philippines.
To the Canadian government, I'm told to tell you to meet the demand. I don't know what you're doing, but you're not doing anything for us.
A video that surfaced in recent days shows the Canadian with two other hostages pleading for the Canadian government to help him. His captors from the Abu Sayyaf group, seen standing behind him, repeat their demands for a ransom.
The lesson is clear. John Ridgell has been beheaded. Now there are 3 remaining captives here. If you procrastinate once again, the negotiation, we will behead us all anytime. Takbir! Allah! Takbir!
But the pleas went unheeded, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says all indications now are that Robert Hall is dead.
It is with deep sadness and anger that I can report that we have reason to believe that a Canadian citizen, Robert Hall, held hostage in the Philippines since September 21st, 2015, has been killed by his captors. The Hall family has shown great strength of character in their resilience and are admirable in the face of this terrible situation.
Robert Hall was kidnapped last September with his partner, a Filipino woman, a Norwegian man and another Canadian, John Ridgell, who was executed in April. They'd all been held on the island of Jolo, a stronghold of the Abu Sayyaf group, which initially demanded more than $20 million in ransom, but which Canada refused to pay.
Canada cannot and will not pay ransoms to terrorists. We will not turn the maple leaf worn with pride by over 3 million Canadians abroad into targets.
Abu Sayyaf is one of the smaller Islamist insurgency groups in the Philippines that have been fighting for years for a separate Islamic state in the mostly Catholic country. Many of its members have declared allegiance with the Islamic State militant group, and like ISIS, it has a history of taking hostages for ransom. The newly elected president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, who takes office later this month, has had pre-existing good relations with many insurgent leaders, and some in the region are hopeful with his tough stance on law and order, he'll succeed where others have failed to rein Abu Sayyaf in. But Carl Malacunas, bureau chief for the AFP wire service in Manila, says previous efforts to strike a peace deal with Abu Sayyaf and the larger insurgent groups have failed and could well do again.
I think basically it's a military campaign has proved since the 1990s that you can't stamp out the Abu Sayyaf. There has to be the sort of peace dividend as well. I think that's the key thing. I think they've got to achieve a peace with the MILF and the MNLF. If they did that, I think the Abu Sayyaf would most likely come back into the fold. But of course, with some serious security operations that occurred in parallel.
Carl Malacunas, bureau chief for the AFP news agency in Manila, speaking to our reporter Ann Barker.